Hey, Toby, thanks for your patience. Good to see you.
You
How's
as
it going?
well. Thank you for being on here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here for you. Um, I think this is our first Zoom together, isn't it?
That is correct. Yeah, I'm just
Welcome,
getting
welcome, welcome.
into the business, trying to secure my first unit, so I'm very novice.
Cool. Well, just so you know how this program works, there's not really many people in this program often because it's kind of
Mhm.
like a bumper program for people who get started for super cheap, and then you pick up some properties, and you probably end up needing me for bigger stuff, and then you graduate to another program, if that makes
Got
sense.
it. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And sorry, I
So
can't
this one.
figure out a way to turn on my video. It's just audio, but yeah.
Don't worry, you don't actually have to turn on your video. I turn it on because if we ever use this stuff on like on a call, like we use it for content, I guess
Mhm.
people need to see my face when I'm talking. But you're
Okay,
good.
sure.
Um, but I'd like to hear about tell me a little bit about yourself, where you are, how far along you are in the process. I'm going to give you some guidance and kind
Mhm.
of then we might even do some. These calls can be used a lot for like scripting and training and stuff. Like that's why
Yeah.
I like the concept of doing weekly Zooms, but it would require you to study the material and then we'd practice it. But before that, tell me about yourself, where you're at, so I can give you some direction.
Yeah, absolutely. So, based out of Chicago area, my husband and I are both in the healthcare field. He's a dentist. I'm a doctorate nurse practitioner. So, I've kind of been leveraging that when I approach um, some of the landlords with with what this looks like, and that seems to have worked a little bit in our favor. That, like, look, the rent is good, but we've been looking into this option for about the last year, and I was able to touch base with one of your guys on the team, Andrew, and he was very
Mm-hmm.
helpful. It's just about pulling the plug at this point that, as you said, also too much knowledge can kind of weigh you down. So that's actively where we're at. We're just trying to secure our first unit and just scale up from there. In terms of the market and where to go, I have heard what you said, looking for areas that there is essentially a deficit where there's not enough supply, but a lot of demand. And I do have a friend that's also in the business, and she recommended AirDNA as well. So that's the area that we're kind of targeting in this at this point, just outside of Chicago, close to the airport, Des Plaines area.
Okay. I'm gonna give you some advice I normally don't give people.
Mm,
And stop me if I'm wrong, because I've known you for what, 2 minutes? Um,
mhm.
you went to a lot of school, right?
That's right, Sean.
Yeah, and so did your husband.
Yeah.
You guys are pretty smart.
Um, in all humility, yes.
Okay. But you're used to your problems requiring you being smart, right? Because you're batting at that level. You're pushing your capabilities to get the best job you can get, which means it's going to be challenging,
Mm,
So there's a correlation between the difficulty of your life and how smart you are, right?
that's right.
Okay. Do you feel at all overwhelmed with starting your first business?
Absolutely.
Okay. If you are like I'm interpreting, that's why all these leading questions. The
Hmm.
one thing that's probably stopping you is just the fact that since you have not done it, you're going to assume that there must be something beyond you that's kept you from doing it because you're so used to acquiring knowledge to get to the next thing. So right
Mm,
now, you're trying to make sense of the fact that there must be some gap. There just has to be because there always has been a gap. And
mm,
you are thinking that there's a gap. So you paid for a $30 coaching product because you probably are afraid that there's still something that you're not capable of doing and you're being overly cautious because you said one property, right?
yes, it
And
definitely.
you probably have like $50,000 that you guys could put into the business and not really have to worry, right? If you're profitable right away, you probably have about 50K you could probably put in and eat that if you
Yeah,
were profitable.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We do have some capital, but we did want to look into the option of using credit cards, 0% to start out with,
Cool. Well,
build
yeah,
up
so far
some
you're doing everything right.
credit.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're doing everything right. Now, I didn't talk to Andrew about you, so I'm really actually just trying to guess what I think you are from the 3 minutes I've had with you. Um,
Yeah.
you're overly cautious because you're too smart for your own good, and you've been on a path that normally rewards time and thoroughness,
Mm,
right?
I,
Does
I
that
think you're
sound
spot on.
accurate?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, throw it out the window. Um, one of the coolest things that you could ever do in your life is completely abandon your I want to use the word principles in this case and just try something new and try being a new person for a little while. um, in short-term rentals, if you lose money, you lose a very small amount when you do arbitrage, because the way money works is it's like pouring up a jar full of
Mm-hmm.
liquid, and the moment that the jar fills up, all the overflow is profit, right? And
Mm-hmm.
this industry, you will always fill your jar to some degree. The question is how much, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this industry, because we renature it, you take a product that was long-term rental, so you take a product that has a monthly or yearly cost.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually, this might make sense for you. A lease has a annual cost, not just a monthly cost, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you took the 12 months together, 20 like 2,000 a month, you're paying 24,000 a year, which means a 3-year lease would be 72,000 bucks. That's the lifetime value of the lease.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you got a deal on a 3-year lease that had a lifetime value of 72,000 and you had to commit to paying 72,000, but then you gave other people access to that by the day, there's an inherent margin there, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you took something that has a high barrier, which is a $72,000 commitment, and you broke it up by the day, you can automatically charge more money. That's kind of why Airbnb is a no-brainer in that way,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Sure.
So what's going to make money in this industry is extremely intuitive because it's human to human. And I'm sure that as a nurse, when you were earlier in your career as a nurse practitioner, you're more of a manager now, I'm imagining, right? You're still doing,
Yeah,
but you're still driving
yeah.
the team.
I've just moved over to the virtual setting with my own business, but yeah,
Okay. So the human connection, like nurses finding a way to settle down somebody who's a little bit neurotic or worried,
sure.
right? You probably
Mm-hmm.
remember the skills you picked up.
Absolutely.
That is really where we make all of our money in Airbnb.
Mm.
Okay. The soft skills. So what I recommend you do is if you want to pick up one property, pick up a 4-bedroom house or larger. Um,
Okay.
if you want to pick up apartments, I recommend picking up 5.
Ah, at the same time, all at
Now, the
once.
reason why, well, you kind of, yeah. So you're gonna do 5 in a batch.
Uh-huh.
You're gonna talk to a landlord and say we're interested in renting multiple of your properties. It changes the nature of your negotiation.
Okay.
And you're going to learn that in this little program. Even the small chunk of the program will teach you kind of the psychology of asking for more than one door. It's a power play,
Mm-hmm.
right? Whenever a landlord tries to tell me no, I actually just make a bigger ask, right? Instead, they say no. I had actually one student from Milwaukee. He's like, I tried to get a lease at this high rise and they told me no. I'm like, well, you only asked for one, right? He's like, yeah.
Mm.
I'm like, go back and tell them you want 12. He's like, I don't have the money for 12. I'm like, it doesn't matter yet. You're going to get
Mm.
it. Tell them you want 12 and see how the conversation goes. And all of a sudden they were open, right? And then from
Mm.
there, his job was to figure out how many he could pick up with the money he had and maybe how to raise the money for the money he didn't have. And he picked
Okay.
up 12, and now I think he's at 20 something doors now. But his first
Wow.
deal came from it asking bigger, swinging a bigger bat, right?
Okay.
So what you have already is a bunch of like reputation. You've got prestige, right? It's like you get awarded a certain amount of reputation with landlords when you talk about what it is that you do and what your husband does.
Mm-hmm.
And with single family homeowners, they have so much ego because landlords are in a class system a lot of times, right? They
Mm.
buy their first property, they buy 5. They're a landlord and there's peasants that pay the rent. And so they actually
Mm.
inherently think that they're better. That
Mm-hmm.
happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
You are already outside of that system by being a doctor, right?
Mm.
So landlords will give you respect that they would not give a regular tenant. So you already
Okay.
get a break past this trust thing that happens.
Mm-hmm.
But now the question is, can you also rattle them enough to get them out of their regular rhythm that they'll say
Mm.
yes to your stuff? And with
Absolutely.
apartment complexes are more bureaucratic. They're more like everything is as it is. So asking for more doors is like one of
Mm-hmm.
the Morse code's ways to get up the ladder with more respect, even though they may not know that you're a doctor up the chain of command because you talk to a
Sure.
leasing agent, manager, their boss. So asking for
Exactly.
more doors signals up your importance without them ever having to meet you. So apartments, more doors works because you may not be able to show them you're a doctor in the
Okay.
walkthrough. Like the regional won't meet you, you know?
Okay. Okay. Well, yeah, that changes things. I just need to then, if, and I don't want it to handicap me to not move forward. But now, in terms of what you said, either one property being 4 beds or more, or 5 in a batch of the smaller units. Now, I'm having to go back to the drawing board to see what is that ideal um, apartment complex that I'm going to target that I could generate the most revenue for. So I have some homework in that. Hopefully that won't stall me too long, but some homework to do a
Actually,
little bit more.
I'm gonna give you, I'm gonna cut ahead for you. I feel you're gonna succeed. Because you have the cash to play with and you have this really easy way to build trust. If you didn't succeed, I'd be stunned. So
Okay,
um,
thanks.
I'm going to show you something that's not part of this program since we're just having a one-on-one conversation. I'm
Yeah.
gonna actually pause the screen sharing because if I ever share this stuff, I don't want anybody seeing what I'm about to teach you.
Can I send you the link quick of actually someone who's willing to talk to me about concessions and to rent to me, and they have multiple units. I was just a little bit leery about moving forward, but now with everything that you
Sure.
said, yeah, it seems like it also might be ideal just outside of Chicago, but it's close to the fashion outlets, the mall, hotels, restaurants, hospitals. So I just put
Okay.
that in the
Well,
chat,
the
Sean.
fashion outlets, is that by the airport or is that like, I'm
By the
thinking King of
airport.
Prussia. So yeah, that is by the airport. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, I wouldn't do it.
You said no?
You have enough money to do luxury high rise,
Oh, okay. Okay.
you know?
Okay. So
Since you have enough
don't
money
be
to do the
shy.
luxury stuff that other people can afford, you should be you should be throwing your weight around on
Okay.
properties that you know will make money based on
Absolutely.
like luxury demand.
Okay.
Chicago has a huge luxury demand market, and if you can lean on the fact that you're professional and your husband's professional, and you guys speak well, you have great vocabulary, you can build trust right away, and you've got a pocketbook, then do the
Hmm.
expensive stuff.
Okay.
Um, you
Good to
don't
know.
need you don't need a service to help you. Like in Cracking Subros, we have a guy that goes hunts down apartments for people if
Hmm.
they don't have any sales skills, right?
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
I don't think you guys should lean on somebody until you've like tested it yourself and tried it out. You could go to
Okay.
this one that we found, which I'm not now that we're sharing screen again or recording again. I'm not going to say the name of the building we found. You know it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, in 15 minutes, we found a luxury high-rise property that makes $10,000 spread above its rent, and you could pick up three of those, right?
Mm,
And
totally.
you could take a look at those photos and generally copy their design style. You could take a look at a
Yeah.
few other properties that are high rises that are popular and copy other ones. You can really just copy high performing design styles. You don't even have to pay an interior designer for that insight.
Hmm.
You might want to
Mm,
pay like a stager to make sure it's done right if you've never
yeah.
staged something luxury yourself. But at that point, I guess my point is luxury properties that have so much margin allow you to
Yeah.
afford to pay something,
Okay.
right?
Okay. Okay. I think I was also being conservative based off of what you said in one of your videos to maybe stay local at first when you're starting out. So Chicago is still another 50-minute drive for me. And I would assume starting out, I would want to be paying attention to what's happening in my property. But I might just have to rely on the cleaning team and just make sure that they're taking photos and keeping me posted as to what's going on.
Well, 50 minutes is pretty local. When I tell people local, I say
Okay.
within a 3 hour drive because if something goes wrong, you want to be able to show up to the doorstep. And a commute greater than
Okay.
3 hours starts a big deal.
Good to know.
Um, yeah, 50 minutes isn't that big. Like here in Texas, like Houston is 50 minutes from Houston, right?
Okay.
It happens all the time. So Chicagoland's the same. Are you like up by like Libertyville, past Evanston? Are you west?
Northwest suburbs, Schaumburg, Hoffman Estates area,
Okay.
if you know that
Okay.
area, Sean.
You could do the same research that I just showed you now. Like if you took the other the other webinar that I just shared with you and you wanted a
Mm-hmm.
deep dive in market research, you could do that
Mm-hmm.
anywhere. Um,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm not gonna is this an apartment complex that somebody else bought?
The one that I shared with you.
You know, yeah, do you know the
Uh,
owner of this property?
I don't know. They were being represented by a realtor, but from what I've been told by the realtor, they're very much open to renting out the property to me, like the idea, like the fact that we're doctors. So no, I don't know them. Area doesn't look too nice, but it's really close to a, a lot of things to do.
I don't like the rent. Almost 2 grand for
Oh,
this thing. It's a B class. It's a B
yeah,
class property for 2 grand. No, like they're trying to rip you off. You know.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I didn't like it
if
either.
I did that building, if I did that multifamily, I would buy it and I would actually materially change that building to perform better on Airbnb. I don't think that building has the amenities that I would want for an apartment complex.
Yeah.
But like as you and your husband do this, I really think that if you guys, like, I have a friend who's a surgeon, makes like a
Mm-hmm.
little over 1 million a year. It's like 4 times the workload. He's like the only
Mm-hmm.
surgeon in his office. He's negotiated that way. He's too busy to do anything, but he's got so much money, and all of his surgeon doctor buddies have just stupid amounts of money. And that's
Mm.
one thing that you guys want is you'll have a network, right?
Okay.
And so what you need to do is you just need to hit the ground, do something that works, get enough acumen in this space. And then, yeah,
Yeah.
if I were you, I would start syndicating to buy multifamilies that you would convert, like eventually. Like I would buy that
Okay.
building and then pitch it to your doctor buddies one day. I wouldn't rent from somebody else. I
Yeah.
want to be in control of that. So your life cycle, I'm,
Totally.
I'm, I'm talking about stuff. This is like your first 20 minutes in this industry, and I'm telling you everything to do for the next 5 years.
I'll take it.
But yeah, so I throw your weight around because you have money and do the stuff
Okay.
that guarantees money in Chicago.
Okay.
Um, learn the art of hospitality through these properties. You'll have less turnovers because they're luxury. You'll make more money for less work because you have less turnovers.
Yes.
That's the thing.
Okay.
You then will get to scale to some degree, but because you guys might be busy professionals, there's enough margin that you're not relying on scale to be like to be profitable.
Mm-hmm.
Where with the property you just showed me, you'd have to hire your own housekeepers and you'd be managing teams of bilingual, like you'd have to be bilingual to run that property, in my
Hmm.
opinion. And
Okay.
so if you wanted to do the cheap stuff, you have to do a lot of the cheap stuff and you have to hire your own housekeepers and then you can make a killing, but you'd have to run a team. And that may not be where you guys are yet.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but you couldn't.
Yeah.
So I'd say for you, go
That
through the
sounds
script
good.
stuff for this, like how to pitch, the psychology pitching, how the way that I do it. But I want you to
Mm-hmm.
take that and just now also remember everything that I said to you guys about going big. You guys
Mm-hmm.
are overly cautious, too smart, and that'll actually slow you down. You're going to do that with everything new in your life in a way, right?
Yeah.
You're always going to synthesize the perceived challenge versus your current capability.
Mm-hmm.
Honest truth is, if you got through medical school and a lot half the shit you've been through, you're probably triple qualified for almost every endeavor you're ever going to take. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And constantly, if you take just the concept that something is something you haven't done yet as proof that it's harder than your current capability, it's going
Mm-hmm.
to be the biggest existential cage you could ever build for yourself.
Mm. Absolutely. Okay. Got it. Yeah. So helpful. So it sounds like at that price point, being in Chicago, you don't even have to do any guest screenings or vetting. I'm just thinking about it. If I
Oh
were a
no.
neighbor, who would I want there? Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because
It's a
Chicago has a
certain
2 day
price point.
minimum length. Chicago has
Okay.
a 2 day minimum length of stay, which prevents parties in itself. And at this price point, you could spend $5,000 or more a month on rent for a really nice place that makes $20,000 a month in revenue. And because
Mm-hmm.
people are spending 800 or 1,100 a night times two, no, nobody's throwing a party at your place,
Mm.
right? Because people who have that much money to spend have more to lose. And they're not about to
Mm.
get taken by Airbnb for 20,000 bucks for a violation for a party and damaging.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That solves it. Yeah. Perfect. Um, Real
Cool.
quick question about the LLCs. Um,
Mm-hmm.
You explained it in the video. I now have applied for two of them. One of my LLCs is for the lease agreement, and the other is via which I would host. If you can just clarify
Yes.
that.
Yeah. So if you have an LLC that holds the leases, that lease has liability to the landlord, right?
Hmm.
That's it, right?
Okay.
This lease is on the hook. That lease, that company does business with another company, which is the Airbnb business, right? They
Hmm.
form a partnership. That Airbnb business has all the liability to the guests and to Airbnb, right?
Okay. Okay.
There's a much longer gambit here that I think I might share this video, so I'm not going to explain it. We'll
Mm.
talk about it later when it matters. But
Okay.
any financial advisor who does business formation will tell you why this matters. But two separate entities with two different directions of liability
Mm.
create a really good defense against any sorts of suits that you might ever have, which like are few
Yeah.
and far between anyway. They really almost happen. But structuring it like this, and the money will pass through both. Both the Airbnb business will get money, pay the renting one, and then the renting one will pay the landlord. So both of them get the benefits of all the cash flow anyway.
Got it.
But when it comes time to like settling suits, if you ever had it, or somebody tries to
Yeah.
sue you and pierce the veil or anything, like this structure is going to save you from a negative thing, like on the very rare
Got
occasion that
it.
it could happen. And we can talk
Yeah.
about that more in depth later. But the next thing you need to do is just get your EIN number. Once you get the
Yes.
paperwork, like you're filing paperwork, you get your EIN number from the IRS.gov website, and
Hmm.
immediately you can go form some bank accounts and just start
Hmm.
like making money through your LLCs.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
if you want somebody to do your business credit stuff, I can put you in touch with our credit development guy.
Oh,
Um,
awesome.
so maybe just send me a text message. No, send me your cell phone in the chat
Yeah,
here, and I'll put
sure.
you in touch with him.
Okay.
Because you two are busy working professionals, I think having him help you with business credit development and just kind of does some of the legwork for you.
That
Um,
was the only
to
issue, Sean,
delegate.
just being new is that you don't have that credit and they would have to do the whole credit check in your name. So I don't know if I can just have my LLC on the lease as well as my name, or if that's something I should completely try to avoid.
Two different conversations. The credit
Oh,
side, they will do a personal credit check, right?
hmm.
But you're not worried about them like a creditor checking your credit score, right?
Mm,
To give you a
okay.
credit card for business.
Yeah.
I don't think you are, right?
No.
So if a company's like, hey, you can have $100,000 of 0% interest credit because your credit score is over 700 something
Hmm.
and you look all well and good, then in your case, you're like, okay, cool. Chase Bank or American Express is going to give me business credit. That's one conversation.
Mm,
The landlord is not going to run your personal credit or personal guarantee you. Like we're going to negotiate so that way they don't put you as a personal guarantee.
mm, okay.
Um, And the reason why is because, well, the reason why is because, if the landlord ever wants to like wrench on you and get tough with you, the fact that
Hmm.
they don't have a personal guarantee recourse means that they can't bully you too much. It's just a
Mm,
safety thing.
yes.
But then also later on down the road, you'll be able to sell shares, raise more money or whatever because you don't have any personal guarantees on any properties. That's a thing. And because you are so professional and you have so much prestige as a white collar professional, when you
Hmm.
tell them our business doesn't do personal guarantees. We don't allow agents of our organization to run it, like to provide a personal guarantee. When you say we
Hmm.
as a company don't do that, the other people will
Hmm.
respect you, right?
Mm,
Um, the personal guarantee thing goes out. You're just some schmuck. I'm gonna run a personal guarantee because I don't trust you. I want to double the leverage, right? But
hmm.
you, the doctor, you'll say, well, our company. No, you can say, with all due respect, Mr. Landlord, no properties in our portfolio hold a personal guarantee. Our company does not allow an agent to engage in a lease. The company holds the leases. The company deploys the assets. The company finds the customers and pays our like generates a revenue and pays our debts. We cannot have
Okay.
an agent married to a lease because that affects the nature of our operations. We won't be able to raise money. We won't be able to take on new investors. We won't be able to do
Mm,
lots of things because that puts you could even call it a key man. That puts a person of interest in our business operations that now we can't segregate them from the business. And you can find a
mm,
way that you can explain that to a landlord and say it's not personal. It's just businesses can't do that. Like
yeah.
we're a business, we're not a person, so we can't give you a personal guarantee because the business just can't literally. It's physically impossible. Is the way you kind of
Got it.
describe it.
Got
And
it.
as a
Yep.
professional, they'll go, "Yeah, we get it, right?"
Mm,
So with that said, let me
clarifies
send
it. Thank
you
you.
this message between you and my credit guy. Um, you are going to probably do more luxury stuff because it allows you to get more cash per hour that you work. Um, it allows you to have a prettier portfolio, which could be more impressive to your doctor friends. And when you guys decide to keep building, if you guys want to do it like that, you can syndicate to your doctor friends and raise $2 million to continue to grow the portfolio with other people's money at that point. Kind of have yourself a juicy little um, like scale and exit thing if you wanted to at one point too. But I'm going to say this again, you're too responsible and too smart to think audaciously. I don't think you plan on trying to sell a business for $50 million in the next 4 years. I don't
No.
think that was your plan. Okay, cool. Well,
Correct.
you could.
Okay.
And so you got to be a little reckless, but you could literally pick up a couple luxury properties in Chicago, have them go well for 6 or 9 months, put together an accredited raise with your doctor friends, raise $2 to $5 million to start buying properties and picking up more luxury, scale at a speed, and because of your growth rate, you could exit for 40 or $50 million in 3 or 4 years,
Mm, okay.
right? So you're like,
Yes.
oh, we'd like to make some side income. Like if you guys are able to you guys are intelligent, so I'm giving you some really weird advice that I won't give like a high school student.
Yeah.
But if you guys are educated and connected, if you're medical professionals and these guys need places to put their money, I would say you're like, oh yeah, let's just get some passive side income. No, I think you guys should try to build a company and exit for 50 million plus dollars in 5 years. That's
Mm,
your path.
yeah, no, absolutely. That sounds great. Okay.
Yeah. So consider that. Um, so with that said, watch the script material on how we pitch
Yes,
landlords. That would be, I think, the first step. Um,
absolutely.
talk to the connect I just gave you. They can start helping you season your businesses and stuff so you can get a good raise. Um,
Awesome.
if you want to recap kind of like the market research that I just showed you and you want to do a lot of it, then the webinar that I just shared with you would be the webinar I would recommend you take to learn my market research techniques.
Okay.
Um,
Yep.
and then next week, when you get on a call with me next week, we can actually practice the script. We can practice
Okay.
talking to builders, right? That's a lot of what these calls will be for.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah, that sounds awesome. So I should wait before I approach, say, the place that we found in Chicago, just to build that script up to try to reach out to get a meeting set up, or just to go head first and, look into the market there a little bit more,
I
Sean.
like the idea of you pitching some people first.
Okay.
And the easiest people to pitch, well, they're the most involved, and that's why they're the best practice is single family homes. It would be good to pitch some single family homes that look like they'll do good on Airbnb. And so
Okay.
between downtown Chicago and the airport, that whole strip where people commute to the mile, just
Hmm.
anything in between downtown Chicago and the airport logistically makes sense for a 3 or 4 bedroom house.
Hmm.
So if you start calling 3 or 4 bedroom houses that you're finding online, finding from like your yard signs that says for rent, and just start pitching with their script to single family homeowners and meet them in person and talk and do the
Yeah.
Q&A stuff.
Yeah.
If you can comfortably pitch a single family homeowner, you can crush an apartment.
Oh, okay. Okay. Good
Yeah.
to know. Okay.
Yep. So
That
that's my
sounds
help.
great. Okay. We'll do. We'll do. I will practice that. You've been so extremely helpful. Thank you so much, Sean. God bless you. I appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. You have one of my favorite dispositions. I kind of went through that with something that I was learning at one point because I'm such a nerd that I get really into things that I consider myself to be a smart person, like all humility
Yeah.
aside, like I'll toot my horn, right? But there have been times in my life in my 20s where I'm trying to learn something new, and because I just did not know it and it overwhelmed me, I thought it was above me.
Hmm.
But every time I've gotten into something, I realized that it wasn't above me. I just have this apprehension to think that everything's somehow better than me. That's a disposition from my childhood, maybe. But
Yeah.
I know plenty of other top performers who have the same weird disposition.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. That totally speaks to me. Like, I just actually gave a presentation to some kids in my church about imposter syndrome. So that whole thing is like you get into it and you're like, I should have done this years ago. I'm the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad.
Totally.
I'm glad because you and I have that in common, and I think it's a really silly thing to hold you back in a way that it's embarrassing, but also in a way that it's inconsequential. And the moment you just realize that that cage is made of thoughts, so you'll crush it.
Yes. Okay. Awesome. Well, I am motivated. Thanks for the pep talk as well. I appreciate it.
Yeah.